Set that goal. Set that goal, review them. And if you haven't set a big, hairy goal yet, you need to, and it's life changing. And don't just talk about it in your head with yourself. You need to tell someone, or at least tell your journal. And it'll change everything. It did for me.
Introducing the Vixen Voice, a podcast for ambitious women entrepreneurs ready to move into their feminine essence, live their truth, and unlock their full potential. I'm your host, April Roberts, and each week I'll be interviewing inspiring women who decided to take a leap of faith to pursue their dream. Women who believe that they were born for something bigger. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Vixen Voice. Today is super fun for me because I have three members of my Vixen mastermind here, and they're also three very good friends because when you come to a Vixen retreat, we go deep, so it's hard to not be friends afterwards. So we wanted to create that safe space for everyone to connect, be vulnerable, and work on growing their business and living their best lives. So what we're really focused on this year is designing our business around our life. So really defining how we want to live, and then how do we design our business around it so that we can be abundant both in our business and in our lives. So I'm really excited. Today we have Bex Wood. Bex has been on a number of times, as you know. So Bex, welcome. So glad to have you.
Hi, thank you for having me again.
And Bex is the founder of Bex Wood Luxury Photography. She is a luxury headshot photographer, and we're going to talk about why it's luxury today. All right, so we're going to dig into that. What makes her different from everyone else you can go see. And by the way, she is available around the country because Megan had headshots with her out in Sedona. Those photos are gorgeous, by the way. Next, we have Megan Munsell, who is the founder of Abundantia Advisory. She's a fractional CFO. I love that. I love this whole new industry that has sprung up of fractional executives because it's so cool. If you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur with a small business, you can have really amazing professional help like Megan, helping you with your cash flow, helping you with numbers, all those things that make some of us cringe, right? So it's so great to have someone with high professional skills available and not have to pay that six-figure salary that you normally would have to pay, right? Because they're just working for you part-time. And finally, last but not least, we have Jaime Duggan, who is my very good friend, and she is an integrative health and wellness coach. So today, again, we'll dig into exactly what that is and what that means. I will tell you this, Jaime has coached me a couple of times. You might have caught our episode together where she coached me live. And yes, I was squirming on my health and wellness, and she helped me make changes. And recently I signed up for her Fit in 15. It's a program she has on her website, and I freaking love the exercises. I don't love exercising, but I love these exercises because they're very effective. 15 minutes. I can easily do it at the end of the workday, beginning of the day, at the end of my walk. And I can tell they are designed for women. And I don't know about you, but that's always one of my beefs. I've had many personal trainers, and a lot of times if it's a man training me, and sometimes women, I don't feel they're training me for my female body. And I'm just at a point in my life where I want to be female. So I want you to train me for my body and what my body needs. So anyway, check that out and we will dig in. And Megan was on not long ago talking about abundance. So she was on a panel episode. So check that one out. And Megan, we've got to have you on for a one-on-one interview. So let's line that up soon. So I'd love to talk about that. I'm super excited. Today, you might see we're going to kind of take it easy and just casual like we do in our masterminds. And always when we start with any coaching session or any meeting, we start with our wins, right? And the purpose behind that is one of the pillars of the Vixen Gathering is confidence management management. And I find that two small things you can do to build your confidence. Number one is celebrating your wins, because many of us high performers do not stop and celebrate what we do, right? We're always thinking, okay, what's next? Or we're thinking, oh, I have this problem, let me solve it, or let me go work on this. And so, really getting in this habit of daily stopping and saying, hey, what were my wins for today? And they could be small and they can be large, but flexing that muscle really helps build your confidence over time. And the second tip I have for building your confidence is keep your promises to yourself. So, most of our audience are women. We know that we take care of everyone else. We always keep our word with everyone else. We deliver what we promise, but how many times do we fail to deliver to ourselves? It could be as simple as I'm going to wake up at 4:30 and you wake up at 5 instead, or I'm going to do fit in 15 at the end of today and I don't do it, or I'm going to eat healthy this week. And sometimes it's a promise that, hey, I'm going to give myself some time to rest, and something comes up and you don't give yourself time to rest. So I really think keeping your promises to yourself gives you confidence in hitting your goals, building your dreams, and building your business. So today we're going to talk about how setting, I'd like to say, Jamie, I'm going to have you hop in here, because when Jamie first came to the mastermind, she said, my big problem is I've been trained to set these pie in the sky goals, and I don't know if I should do that or something realistic. My belief is, and this is after years of goal setting myself with business coaches, I find it somewhere in the middle. Like, you want to stretch and grow yourself, but it's really important to hit your goals because that's a promise to yourself. And you really should aim at hitting 80% of your goals, because things come up. You know, we don't hit all of our quarterly goals, but if you could consistently hit 80% of your goals, then you're like, oh, okay, I got this. I'm just going to set a goal and figure out how to get there. So, we're going to be talking about how setting our goals and narrowing our focus in business, because, you know, many of my clients are solopreneurs. Many of you listening are solopreneurs, or you have small teams. And so we have to wear a lot of hats. How do you manage that and still focus on the right things to continue growing your business? So, welcome everyone. So, Jamie, let's quickly have that conversation. I know you had that moment, and we see this a lot, right? It's like reach for the stars, like set this big bold goal. And I mean, that's why I kind of like the idea of a good, a great, and a stretch goal. But so many people, especially women, have a hard time setting goals, period, that I hate to layer it like that, right? Like, I want to keep setting goals really simple so you can build confidence. So how do you feel now about goal setting? Do you feel like you have more comfortable goals? Do you feel like there's still stretch, or how are you feeling about that?
I had this realization just yesterday where some of the goals that I set at the mastermind maybe were still a little bit big because, I have really big dreams and I have really big aspirations. And I think that sometimes they can get confused. The dreams and the goals can be confused because the dream can be really big, right? It's okay to have that pie in the sky dream, understanding that I need to set goals that are a little bit more attainable and a little bit more achievable while I build up that confidence. Because something that I had shared with you at the retreat is that I had kind of broken promises to myself, not out of lack of trying, but out of setting goals that were so grandiose from where I was that I then would start to doubt myself. And so now I'm feeling more confident about setting goals that are a little bit more, they're still stretched. I need to come up with multiple ways to achieve them so that I'm working hard, and I don't want them to be easily achieved, but also I don't want them to be out of reach where there's absolutely no way I could do it outside of a miracle.
Yeah, I love that, because you could still have the dream and it could occur. And I love that distinction between goals and dreams, right? So the best goal setting I found is set your 3 year, set your 1 year, then break your 1 year into quarters. So you're reverse engineering. And so it's a stepping stone to get where you want to go, right? But I think what you're experiencing, I experienced it when I first started setting goals for my company with a business coach is, we're visionaries, we're entrepreneurs. We do have this big vision and all this great stuff we want to do. And it was actually the pain of not hitting 50% of our goals multiple quarters that helped me to realign. So if you're listening and you struggle with this, it's a common problem when you first start goal setting. Just remember it's a skill set that as you flex the muscle, you get better at it. I remember, I can share Bex was in the mastermind last year, and it was third quarter before the women were like, oh my gosh, I have goals and I feel good about them. And they actually energized them and they felt good because it is a skill set to set a goal that's appropriate for the quarter, appropriate for your business. And like we said, we still want to live our lives, right? So, can you hit your goals? Yes. Do you have to sacrifice everything in your life to hit that goal? Probably. And then is it worth it? Probably not. Right. So when we're setting goals and you make that plan to get there, is this something you're going to stick to? Is it sustainable? And maybe it's something you don't want this season of your life. I mean, I'm doing a panel this afternoon on kids getting out of school. All of you have kids. So I'm curious, do you have to adjust your goals in the summertime because the kids are around more, right? Like, how do you deal with that?
Mhm.
Megan, I'll start with you.
So for me, I'm lucky that my child is 14. So it's a little bit easier now that he's not 5, 6, 7 years old. Although when he was younger, I could have sent him to daycare. But I will adjust my workday so that I can be present for him. That way he still has a fun summer. But then I'm still meeting my goals. I don't adjust my goal. I just adjust when I do the work.
I like that. I like it. Thank you. Bex, how about you? Do things change when the girls get out of school?
Things do change. And for me, family is pretty high on my list of priorities right now. And so I try to put in place things during like the fall and the spring so that I can have more free time, so to speak, because my office time, my computer time is just way down. I just purposefully do that so I can spend time with the kids or more time. But I still have shoots and stuff. And so it's just, I plan fun activities for them and I try to make sure that I've built up like spring and fall enough revenue to coast me through the summer just in case I can't give enough or don't want to give enough attention. And also travel is really high on my core priorities also. And I plan to soon, probably not this year, but next year, to start traveling a lot, especially during the summer when my kids are freely available. So I'll have to put that method into place even more than I'm currently doing. But that's what I do because my load is lighter in the summer just because I'm out doing more stuff that I like to do. So, yeah.
I love it. And so, if you're listening and even you see totally different answers from the four of us here, right? Like, I like to say when I was a financial advisor, everybody was like, oh, this is your slow season. And I was like, ideally, I have 0 slow seasons. Like, that's how I think about business, right? Like, I remember August was always our best month. And then December one year was our best month. And most financial advisors took the month of December off, right? That was never their best month in business. And I just remember my team being so excited about the business we were doing and the clients we were helping. And like, we loved it and enjoyed it. So no one cared, right? And Bex, to your point, I would always, fourth quarter be looking forward to, okay, what are we filling for first quarter? Because traditionally, first quarter tends to be slow in the financial industry, right? Like people just aren't thinking about things at the beginning of the year. They're kind of recovering from the holidays and different things. And so I just want to share like whatever your answer is right for you. So, and there are different types of entrepreneurs. There are different types of solopreneurs. If you study, I think E-Myth goes into these 3 different types, but there are professionals who just don't want to work for other people. So they work for themselves. And so it's still kind of like a job. They have set hours, they do certain things. They just don't want to work for someone else and they want to keep the profit. Then you have what's called lifestyle entrepreneurs who want to create a lifestyle for them. And if they have a really good month, they might not work that much. Or, Bex is like fixing her business around her lifestyle that she wants. And, then you have sometimes like someone like me who's like extremely growth oriented, who's like, I don't want to ever take the pedal off the gas, off the gas. Like I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure the rest out. Right. So I just want to say we're all different and it's all okay. Bex, what did you have to say?
Yeah, well, I was going to say something that I learned from you and in the Vixen Mastermind. One thing that I thought of after I said how I do take it slow in the summer, and it's kind of hard actually to plan and prep and then to kind of go without for a bit in the summer. It's always a little worrisome. And so something I learned from you is that I'm working on adding some digital products so I can make money when I'm not actively working with my hourly time. And I'm working on building in some recurring revenue also into my business model. So it's something I'm taking on, or sort of I'm in the brainstorming phase on how to add that in and what that would look like. But I'm thinking that's going to really free me up by next year to be able to travel and do whatever I want in the summer, and even throughout the year, just take time off as needed. That I'm really excited about that.
Yeah,
that's definitely driving me to create more products and work on that.
No, it's awesome and I love it. And and that's why it's important to set quarterly goals. Like, here's my focus, this goal. And Jaime and I talked, she really wants to start a podcast, and she was like, okay, when I finish my book, which congratulations, she just finished this quarter. So we're super excited to celebrate that launch into July. We'll chat about that more. But Jaime had that and then her 3 goals. And then she came to me and she was like, I really want to start a podcast, but I think it's going to distract me. And so, our conversation was, hey, it's fine. You can have this goal, but maybe it's 3rd quarter or 4th quarter or even 1st quarter next year, so that you don't have to let go of these things you want. You just make it more manageable for yourself. So you're actually hitting your goals and moving forward. And look, I'm preaching to the choir because I was the worst person. I want to do all things at all times. And so this is definitely something I had to learn through pain. And that's why, when we're coaching, I really try to encourage y'all to, okay, let's have 3 goals for the quarter. Let's have 3 major foci. Sometimes you might just have 1 because it's so big. So let's say, Bex, you really wanted to get your passive income off the ground with these digital projects. That might take most of a quarter, and you might know that your numbers are going to be down that quarter because you're gearing up for a bigger future, right? And that's okay too. It's just giving some thought to what you want and what your overall goals are. So, Megan, how about you? I know you recently left corporate America full-time, and now you're doing what was your side hustle full-time. So first of all, congratulations. Second of all, it's a lot different when you come into the entrepreneurial world. Would you agree? Like setting your own goals and different things like that. Talk to us about that, because a lot of our listeners are where you were. Like, they're in corporate, they want to go start their own business, or they're trying to straddle the fence. So share with us the difference you've seen in like goal setting in your own business versus when you're a very highly compensated, very high up employee of a company, but still an employee of a company, right?
Yes. So the ease in setting goals when you're a corporate employee is because there's a top-down push. These are the organization's goals. These are your organization's goals. And then it just kind of cascades. So you already have a framework. But when you're an entrepreneur, you really have to temper your expectations, know what's reasonable, but still yet push yourself to increase your revenue or hire a team or do all of these things that are a lot easier to do when you have the safety net of that higher corporate salary. But there comes a point where your attention being split is going to hold back your growth. And so if you're at a point where you have a few months of expenses built up, it's just take the leap, because it'll force you to use that goal setting muscle faster and help you really start to gain momentum.
Yeah, and Jamie, I'm a certified high performance coach, and it's Brendan Bouchard's program. And Jamie actually just spoke to Brendan yesterday, so she's very involved. And Brendan always talks about a sense of urgency is really important to reach your goals. And so, as an entrepreneur, you have to create your own sense of urgency, except there's always that cash flow issue that's like a constant sense of urgency, right? Like, if I don't get this done, the money's not going to flow in. I can't pay my team, like, I can't pay my bills. And that's why I think a lot of people hesitate to build a team, because then you're not only responsible for your own lifestyle, but you're responsible for other people and their families and their lifestyles. And for me, that's always like, when I got to that place, I found it to be a gift, and I really enjoyed like coaching and leading my team. But maybe not everyone feels that way, because it is added pressure. And that's why, especially if you're listening and you're a solopreneur, get this goal setting muscle flexed now. So by the time you have a team, you're comfortable with it. Because remember, hitting your goals or not gives your team confidence as well. So it's not just you, but the team's a lot more excited when you have a goal and set it. I mean, I shared how my team was super excited to be working long hours in December. I didn't even ask them to do it. They were just like, oh my gosh, there's all these people for us to help, and we want to help them. And then when we took off for the holidays, we could truly enjoy, because we knew we'd done this great work, right? Often we think, oh, I need 3 weeks off. And sometimes 3 days off, knowing that you've accomplished what you've wanted, can actually be more impactful and powerful. But again, everyone's built differently. So really know how you're built and what's important to you.
Yeah, and I was just talking to a client about this goal setting within her organization. She's building up a very prolific law firm, and she and I were talking about different dashboards that we could put together to make sure that her employees are meeting their goals, their KPIs. So as an entrepreneur, the more you can learn how to set goals for yourself, then you can help the team. And when you start tracking that, all of those efforts will compound.
I agree. When you have good KPIs, and I know we're exploding some people's heads right now because they don't want to talk about this. So I totally acknowledge that. So I will tell you right now, if you put an Excel spreadsheet in front of my face, I'm probably going to scream. And I know Bex feels the same way, right?
Yeah, that's why I developed visual dashboards for my clients, because I love spreadsheets, but I realized that very quickly that a good pie chart or a bar chart that kind of shows them things visually is a lot more effective than, your normal balance sheet and profit and loss. You still get those, right? But seeing it visually helps you make decisions.
No, I totally agree. And that's what I was going to say. Like, give me a good dashboard. I'm super happy. And what I find is the dashboard helps with like your team as well, because, I've always had someone that was doing KPI numbers, or, I mean, your team still has to put the data in, but they collated. And, I'm sure, Megan, you're not necessarily putting these numbers in for your clients. You're just helping them.
Correct. I'm advising them.
Read it. Right. And so having that's so important, because when I looked at my dashboard, I could be like, in my financial advisory practice, oh, okay, I have this one advisor that no one's going from a first to a second appointment. Well, I knew she was really an introvert. So I was like, okay, let's coach up on your rapport building skills. Like, you're not building a bond with the client, potential client. That's why they're not coming back. And then I had another advisor who had great rapport, and she would get them to the third meeting, but they weren't becoming a client. So it's like, okay, we have to like work on your overcoming objections, like getting to the truth of what they want, making sure you're designing and delivering what they want. And so when they saw the numbers, they're like, oh, okay, I see that. So it's not like me saying, hey, you're not good at building rapport, we need to work on this. So I think a good dashboard, or having these numbers, having goals and tracking the progress, it could be as simple as we're going to bring in 10 new clients this quarter. And with your team every week, you're like, hey, we're at 3. Do we think we're going to hit 7? Are we on track or off track? And what actions do we need to take to hit this goal? But it's just having that in front of your face all the time. And it makes these conversations so much easier to coach them up in the skills that you need. And sometimes you, as the owner, need the accountability of those numbers in front of your face. Like, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I dropped the ball last week and I didn't do this. And hey, and you set the example for your team of taking ownership and saying, hey, I dropped this ball. I'm going to get back on track. Megan, what were you going to share?
Oh, I was just going to share that, like a little bit of like a free tip. What I told this client to do is whatever key performance indicator that employee is trying to hit, have them document daily what are they going to do, even if it's a micro thing to move the needle at first part of the day, and at the last part of the day, rate themselves how they did. And then you'll start to see if you have an underperformer, is it a technical problem where you need more training, or is it an emotional intelligence problem where you need more coaching? So, but that was kind of, that's a little bit of free game for if you're leading a team.
I love it because they're reflecting daily, because we do that on a weekly basis with our team. And I actually have my team rate themselves on engagement level every Monday. And it's interesting because sometimes they'll be like, I'm an 8 this week. My kids are getting out of school. I feel like I'm going to be distracted. And it's a great way for us to communicate like, hey, I have this other stuff going on. Because how many times does that take you by surprise because somebody doesn't finish something? And like you said, often, sometimes it's a technical problem or it's a problem in their life. It's not from a lack of desire to do the job. So if you create that environment of transparency, they're just going to tell you like, I'm not feeling great this week. I'm not feeling good about this. And so as a team, it's like, okay, what do we do about this? Can someone step in and help, or can we encourage you, or what? But I love that daily reflection, Megan, because we do end of day summaries. I think I'm going to add that.
Well, it's because like the way that averages work, you have to have more data points. So if you're just starting out, like if it's a program that's very mature, you can probably go to weekly, but the more data points you have, the faster you get an accurate average of what's going on. So that's why I would advise, if you're just starting, to start that like very early, like start daily. And then as your team matures, see, you can probably go to weekly or a couple times a week and would be fine.
I love it. So if your eyes are glossing over, or you quit listening during that discussion, then you should reach out and hire Megan so she can do it for you or advise you. That would be my recommendation. And as you'll know, I like to kind of break things down to simple, digestible steps. So what I'd love to talk about now is, we set our goals for our quarter, but then we try to identify those 1 to 3 daily actions. Megan talked about this, that can move the needle the most, right? And I know I have set 3 things I do every single day. And like the week of my birthday, which I had a lot of fun with Jaime in LA, we went out for the night with some of our other friends. We were there for business. And then I went to, the beach for 2 days. And I saw like the next week, I didn't have as many calls on my calendar because I didn't do my daily actions, right? And then as soon as I did my daily actions, guess what? The calls were back up on the calendar. So you can actually, if you're watching, and it's as simple as it's on my calendar, but I can track because every Monday we're looking at our numbers from the week before, right? And it's as simple as like, how many new introduction calls did I have, which often is a lead indicator of the health of your business. If I'm trying to sign on clients, how many people am I having a conversation with about potentially becoming a client? So for me, and Bex, to your point, we're building out automations for client onboarding now. So then I may not have to do those daily activities as much, but then I have another set of numbers I have to watch, right? And if they don't work, I go back to the daily activities because I know they do work. So you want multiple ways to hit your goal. So Bex and Jaime, I know Bex, you're like me. We don't like spreadsheets. We don't like looking at all this stuff. So how do you kind of track if you're on target for your goals? Because there's different ways to do it, right? But we want to be checking in. I know every Wednesday I hold you accountable in our coffee meeting, but outside
Yeah.
of that.
I think I'm just the kind of personality, and I don't know if this is a creative thing or if this is a
Yeah.
me thing or some other category, but I've learned, and I'm 42 now. And so I feel like, okay, if maybe this is just not me, but I really struggle with holding myself accountable. And
Yeah.
I have learned from crash and burn that I'm not really effective in that role. And so I've outsourced that. And I think without those regular check-ins, I'd be so lost. I'd be aimless, and I think that's also with those granular micro goals, I think are so important. And I think all of the goals are important. They all have their role, but those micro steps are so important for someone like me who it's like, I know what to do and I can do it really well. But sometimes I just don't remember how to do 1, 2, 3. Like I don't know how to jump in. And so having the accountability where I'm remembering to be like, oh, I need to watch this. I need to check this. I need to, keep this in my sights. It really helps me to keep that going and keeping the really important things that are not my creative talent that I need though to run my business, keeping that alive. Yeah. Those goals really help with that.
Thank you for being totally open about that. And that's why I love having the three of you, because you're vastly different. And if you're listening, hopefully you can relate to one of us, because we're all vastly different, yet we're working through the same system. So Bex, my question for you is, do you feel you have more confidence in the ability to bring stability into your business now that you are setting goals and doing like daily or weekly actions versus before? Like, how has that
Oh,
changed how you feel about your business?
Oh gosh, yeah, both. It's like yes and no, but all in
Yeah.
both positive ways. Because I think in the past I might have felt more confident, but or not more, but I felt confident, thinking that I can do this. This is a great idea, especially when I started my business. But it's more like a false confidence because I had no idea what I was stepping into confidently, and so now I feel like, especially having the goals, I think is what's it's so important, and then following those steps. But now it's like I have the confidence, but I feel it's a true confidence that I can, keep this going and make it better and improve it and live the lifestyle, that I enjoy.
I love it. I love that you're traveling and spending time with the girls. So, an
Mhm.
interesting thing Beck shared with me, because she's in her mastermind, she was in it all last year. And then I have the 12-week, high performance Vixen Gathering as well. And Beck's like, I'd really like to do that too. And when she was doing both, and this is particular to you and how you operate, you're like, oh, having all these meetings, because she would have 2 accountability meetings a week because she had best programs. And Bex like does not miss a meeting unless she has to. So like I have to give you kudos, because we're all busy and it's really hard to make all those meetings. But I know Bex is there, she can. And she was like, oh my gosh, having all these meetings makes it so much better for me. So I think we have to know ourselves and we have to be honest with ourselves. Like we'd all like to pretend like, oh yeah, I'm a badass at all this stuff. And the reality is we cannot be a badass at everything. And we have to understand the places that we do need the external help, because when you try to wear all the hats and be all the things, like it's just a recipe for disaster, right? Or burnout and not enjoying your business and not enjoying your life. So,
I think that's how burnout can happen to like the best of us because like, there are some people who probably can wear all of those hats effectively, but not sustainably, like not
right.
forever. And so like, yeah, you can do it. You're doing it, but how long are you going to do that before it's not worth it,
Yeah, and that's a great comment, because I think this goal setting skill and breaking it down to habits that get you there, I like to call it digestible bites. It's like how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? And so
Mhm.
I think it's such a skill to have a sustainable business, along with last week how we were talking about developing problem solving skills. So what I love is when you get to the level of what Megan's talking about and you have a dashboard, the dashboard tells you where the problems are, and then you can tap into to your intuition, your creativity, your problem solving skills to fix the problem, right? But the numbers are the clearest indicator, because Bex, how you said, oh, I had confidence I could do it, but it was almost like a false confidence. Same thing. If you don't know your numbers or you're not tracking your goals, you could be like, oh, I'm killing it this quarter or this year. And you get to the end of the year and there's no money in the bank. And you're like, what the heck happened? Right. So that's the worst feeling when you think you're winning. And then you're like, wait, where's the result? So I think it's just a great way of holding yourself accountable, keeping yourself on track, like tracking your goals. Even if it's an every week, you'll know this week I was like, just read your 3 goals and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And of course, if it's a thumbs down, well, what can we do to get there? And, you know, I'll give credit to Megan. We dug into one of her goals and she came up with 7 ways she could get there, right? You don't want just one way to get to your goal, because then if it falls apart, it's disaster. But if you're like, well, I can do this and I can do, you know, you don't want to do 7 things at once, but let's say she's doing 3 of those things and one doesn't work. Well, then she goes to number 4 on her list. So she's done the strategic thinking so that she doesn't have to stress in the moment when something doesn't work out. So, and again, this is a skill set. I mean, Megan, you can share, like, you probably didn't feel like that before, right? Like, it comes over time that this clarity comes.
Yeah, because I know how it's understanding numbers is a double-edged sword. So when you're very early at something, it's kind of a mental game, because you need all the, like I was telling the client, you need all these data points, and I don't have the data points. So I feel kind of lost because you just can't manufacture them. But it's just digging your heels in and knowing that you have to start that data collection sooner rather than later, so that you can get to the point where you know that you were going to send one email to your email list and get X dollars of revenue, right? That you have to start gathering that now. And that was even hard for me.
Yeah, to the point it's painful in the beginning. I mean, we've had a scorecard since
because I don't like being
Vixen. Yeah, in the beginning,
I don't like not meeting it.
Numbers are low. No, I'm with you, but it's still that exercise of looking at it every week. So yeah, I totally get where you're coming from, because I've had that pain as well. But I was still like, I don't freaking care if we only have 2 calls. Like, it's going on there, and what's our show ratio? How many people become clients? Like, I don't care. I don't care if one person shows up to our live. It's on the spreadsheet, right? We're gonna be honest. So I love it. So Jaime, how about you? I know when you came to me, you were looking for clarity, because like many of us, like, there's so many things you want to do, right? But we understand that while our business is our passion, we have to take certain steps so we can make money and serve our clients. So how has things changed for you? I know we talked at the beginning about kind of mitigating your goal setting, but do you feel more confident about it? I know we're in the beginning stages.
Yeah, I would say that I feel more confident about my goal setting. And it's kind of, like what Megan's talking about is very tactical and like it's the logical side of things. And I feel like for me, what helps me is really knowing why it's so important to reach those goals. So knowing the goals that I need to set that are really going to make the impact, right? It's like you said, you want to do all the things. I told, I have a book coming out. I wanted to start a podcast. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it's like, okay, but you can't do all of those things at one time. What is the thing that is going to move the needle towards your goals? What is the thing that is going to help you achieve what you want and why you want it? Like really knowing, that this is actually going to move me towards what I want. For Bex, it's like, I want to travel,
Yeah. I love it, because so many people say, like, I want to write a book. Okay, but why do you want to write a book? Right?
Exactly.
Is it just because you want to see your book on the bookshelf? Which, hey, I'd be freaking excited to see my book on the bookshelf, right? But like, do you want the book as a marketing tool to reach more clients? Are you going to build a book funnel so you get them? Do you want to be a best-selling author and go on all the TV shows and have notoriety? Like, what is the end goal of writing a book? And sometimes people are like, I just want to write a book because I'm passionate passionate about this and I want to change the world. Okay, but if your book's out there and no one sees it, you're not changing the world. So like, what is the end result of writing that book, doing that podcast, and how is it going to benefit your overall purpose?
So, it's interesting because in like my business with health and wellness, this is something that I think people miss the mark on all the time is they think they want to get healthier because they want to look a certain way or they want to be a certain size. And then they achieve that and they actually don't really know why. Maybe they were that weight in high school. Maybe that's the size that they think they should be. And if they don't really feel that in their soul, they're not going to continue when the going gets tough. Or they achieve it and then they give up because I've achieved it and I have no deeper why. I did a talk yesterday about like, moving from contemplation into action and how you can think about wanting to run and you can come up with all these reasons of I need to run, I should do it, whatever, and you still don't do it. However, if you were being chased by a bear, your behind would be hauling ass, pardon my French.
Sense of urgency.
It would, why you have to run. And like for so many things, if you don't have that, like, this is why I have to do it, it's really hard to get started and even harder to keep going. So for me, it's really knowing in my soul why it's important.
Yeah, I feel like that's where those big giant goals come in handy, especially in the beginning. Yes. But I think it's important that you maintain that, like my first epiphany with Vixen Mastermind, April, was whenever you had me set my BHAG, my big, hairy, audacious goal. And I had that goal. I had that goal in the back of my mind for a long time, but I never declared it. And I feel like whenever I had to write it down, even though I never shared it with anyone, I wrote it down. And so that just brought it a step further for me. And like that has become this overarching umbrella, that sort of defines everything that I'm doing. And I might change that goal one day, but right now it's still there and I'm not there yet. And sometimes when I start to feel like I lose my way, I just kind of revisit that goal and realize like, okay, yeah, I do want to do this. And I actually have changed some things, like small little things, even just in my mindset. And this started like 18 months in now, just small little changes, just because I had that goal, like in the back of my mind, it more present than it was before. And I think too, because I declared it in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to try to do this. And always before, I think the self-talk just naturally for me was like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, you'll never do that. Oh, I want to do that. That's for other people. Like, oh, I want to do that. Like, who do you think you are? and just like complete disbelief. And so I never worked toward it.
Yeah, and so I apologize, we're running out of time here, but yeah, there's benefit to speaking your truth. And when you speak things out loud, you own them or write them down, and that's the power of masterminds, group coaching, etc., that I think a lot of people don't realize, right? It's like the communal, like speaking of these things we haven't said out loud before, and a safe space with people who love you, who are going to cheer you along, but also hold you accountable, right? And like that you can say these things. So real quickly, Bex, tell us what your BHAG is, because I love your BHAG.
I will tell it.
I will tell it. It's coming up for you guys. We didn't get to it last time, so we'll be doing this soon. So tell us.
I will tell it, but I want to say like this is a big thing for me to share this, and
I know.
Yeah, I'm not there, and I'm working toward it. It is a goal. I want to do it, and I'm working toward it. But it is to be published in one of the magazines like Vogue or Vanity Fair. My work in one of those magazines. So I'm working toward that, and I love that. I'm happy to share it. I'm not ashamed of it. If I never get there, I'm still not ashamed. For one, declaring that goal, and two, working toward it. So,
well, I can't wait till you get there. But I mean, in the last year, you have been featured in local magazines. Like, you have been featured. So, like, you start seeing the dream come into reality, right? And that's something you might not have done had you not had this big goal. So I love it. I call it your North Star. It's your guiding light. And also in those difficult days when you're like, why the heck am I doing this? You should always look at your purpose and your big, hairy, audacious goal. And if you don't know what these are, go back. I have a solo episode called Creating the Compelling Vision of Your Future. And I coach you through these things complimentary. So check that out. And of course, you can always join us at the Vixen Mastermind because we work through that together. So we do have a couple of spots available for our July retreat. Just reach out and let us know. All right, ladies. Well, I know we have a hard stop today. Everybody has appointments we have to move on to. So Megan, any bold and brilliant closing thoughts?
Just when you're setting goals, especially if you're analytical like I am, don't get in your head, because I do this all the time. Don't get in your head about the fact that you're not meeting them, because especially if you're early on in your whatever it is you're trying to reach, over time you will see that movement.
I love it. Jamie?
So I actually was just reminded this morning when I was reading Jamie Kern-Lima's new book, Worthy, and she was talking about goals at the end of the chapter I was reading, and she reminded me to always speak your goals as though they have already happened, whether that's writing them down as I am going to be featured in Vogue or saying it to yourself, because the power of your subconscious mind is impactful. What your subconscious mind believes will come to fruition. So really being bold and stating that it's happening. So
yeah. And that's the power of that 5-year letter exercise I introduced to y'all, because it's your future self writing about the wins you've had these 5 years. So that's what you're declaring. So Bex, I saved you for last because thank you for making your bold declaration of your BHAG to the public today. I know that's a big deal for you. So thank you for that. And any last parting thoughts?
Yeah, set that goal. Review them. And if you haven't set a big, hairy goal yet, you need to. And it's life-changing. And don't just talk about it in your head with yourself. You need to tell someone, or at least tell your journal. And it'll change everything. It did for me. So.
Oh, thank you for sharing that again. I mean, you just made me giddy happy. I'm at the stage of my life where I'm like the proud mama when my clients, like, I'm going to Jamie's party for releasing her book, another client's having an event. And like, I'm so excited just to participate and get to watch y'all reach your goals and like dreams. It's like so fun and beautiful. So if you don't have a group of women you feel this way about, please find one. As I always say, the world needs more love. So find an amazing group of women you can surround yourself with where you can celebrate each other's goals together. And if you'd like to talk to me about the Vixen Mastermind, there's a link below. Hop on a 15-minute coffee chat with me. And if you'd like, I'll connect you with one of these amazing women. All of their info is also below. And if you haven't yet done it, subscribe to the Vixen Voice on our website so all of this great information gets delivered to your inbox. All right, ladies, thank you so much. Have a bold, amazing, and beautiful day, and I will talk to everyone soon. Thanks again for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to hit subscribe so future episodes are automatically downloaded directly to your device. And if you want access to today's show notes, including links to all the resources we mentioned, visit vixengathering.com/podcast. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you next week for another episode of The Vixen Voice.